because I have a particular weakness for art classes. I love them. I love brief workshops. I love in-person meetups. I love week-long retreats. Not that I've done enough of them, but I've done a few. I really love the experience of being a beginner. I love the experience of learning. I love being surrounded by other people who are similarly curious. And I even love the online workshops where you can just plug in from your living room. And I did a lot of that during COVID, and I just love them. So, who am I? I am somebody who had a regular day job for 30 years, toiling away in the corporate world, and only just recently stepped away from my job. I was making art in the evenings and on the weekends. That's the way I was operating for, over 8 years. And one of the core pieces that allowed me to get ahead during that time was art classes. Okay, this video is going to cover 3 major art class experiences that I really enjoyed. I am not a critic, to be clear, and I'm also not sponsored by any of these organizations or individuals. I just love making art, and I love when I connect with an organization that helps me learn and grow. And so that is kind of the approach that I'm taking in this video. If you guys are interested, I will share more, because there are a number of things that I have done over the years that have just made such a difference to my development as an artist. And so it's kind of fun to look back and actually share some of that. So that's the plan for this video. Okay, Creative Bug. That is the first thing I'm going to talk about. It is an online platform with lots and lots and lots of artists and short form video that allows you to build a habit. That is the thing that I got out of Creative Bug that was the most valuable. I will say I studied incredible artists like Lisa Congdon, who was one of the first that I took a class with, Jennifer Orkin Lewis, who is also known as August Wren, who introduced me to gouache through an animal studies, E. Bond, who does incredible printmaking and all kinds of pattern development. And actually, most recently, I did a collage class with Erin McCluskey Wheeler, who I also really, really recommend, because she goes through a whole bunch of different collage artists, and we made, versions that are sort of reminiscent of some of the masters of the form. Some of the things that I was able to dig into while doing Creative Bug included basic things on mark making, Inktober, floral design, depicting animals, people, faces, collage, intuitive watercolor, altered books. It's a really great program. It's very affordable. It's not too expensive. It's all online. You take it with you. For me, it was incredibly transformative because I was working full time. I had a big corporate job. I had no time. So being able to do something for 10 minutes every day was hugely meaningful for me to build a habit and to build some skills. And it's all still there. So all that backlog of material, all those classes are still available. Definitely recommend Creative Bug. Okay, the second art experience that I would like to talk about is something that was in person, and that is visiting Madeline Island, specifically the Madeline Island School of the Arts, which is in the Apostle Islands in Wisconsin, right on Lake Superior. It is a tremendous experience, and they have all kinds of workshops for art, for quilting, for writing, for photography, for plein air painting. I did the Urban Sketchers meetup with 3 wonderful teachers. I was with Maru Godas out of Spain, Suhita Shirodkar, who's out of California, and Santi Salas, who is also out of Spain. Cannot say enough good things about these 3 teachers. The 3 of them had their own unique styles, and over the course of the week we were able to have a full day with each of them and then some additional time. And, we got outside, we sketched outside in plein air every day. We were in groups of, I think it must have been about, 15 people each group. We went to different parts of the island. We got out and did a boat trip and explored different islands within the Apostle sort of formation of islands. We went into town one day, which you have to do via ferry. And I will say, it just is a magnificent experience. I think the piece that I took away from that most significantly was, I mean, there are two parts. One is just community. I'm still in touch with a number of the artists that I met while I was there, both the folks who led the workshop as well as some of the friends that I made just as other participants, which I love. I think that's really cool. It was a really wonderful week for me. I managed to have a sabbatical from work because I'd been there for 20 years. And this was my little treat to myself to have a week of just making art. And that was for me really, really incredible. What a gift. And to do it in such a beautiful place, so remote, so incredible, and to take away some skills around sketching in plein air with and among other people. It still is awkward for me to be making art in front of others. And so this was a really wonderful kind of crash course in pushing those boundaries, doing something I didn't always feel super comfortable about, and doing it with a community. So I can't say enough wonderful things about my experience with MISA, and I have to say it just was such a wonderful opportunity. Price point's definitely higher than Creative Bug, but I will say you should check out if you're interested in the urban sketchers, the three individuals that I just mentioned, they have workshops all the time, I think at different price points. So you can certainly get those skills if you feel like you're not quite able to afford a week of an intense workshop. If you do have the ability to take a workshop like that, this is a really great one. I mean, I haven't done a ton of others, but for me, this was one that I had saved up for a long time to be able to do a program like this. And it was really worth it for me. And I felt as though I had taken my art to another level, which was really cool. So that is MISA. Check it out if you can. My final recommendation for an art workshop, class, experience is if you ever have the chance to study with Amanda Hawkins Bittner, do it. Do not hesitate, just sign up. She is this incredible artist. I think she's New England based. I signed up to do an online workshop with her. I think it was a 10-week class. It was called The Artist's Guide to Color. And it was a very small group. We met on Zoom each week, and she just had such a generous approach to sharing. The most in-depth, most incredible art class that I've maybe ever taken. I mean, really, really in-depth in terms of color. Her approach to abstraction is just incredible. She does have shorter, more cost-accessible workshops available on her website. But she also does these workshops around New England and I think out west where she will meet with people for a week and do a more immersive thing in person. I've not had a chance to do that yet just because my life is very busy, but I really hope to someday because I would follow her, frankly, anywhere. I was first drawn to her because I fell in love with her series called, I think it was called The Alpine Zone. And she did this series of paintings that were abstract landscapes based originally, I think, on some of her expeditions in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. And I am from New Hampshire. As a daughter of New Hampshire, I feel a real kinship with anybody who takes the time to spend time there because the White Mountains have a very particular rocky feel. Even though it's New England, it feels very jagged and dramatic. And I feel as though she brings that across so strongly in her work that I just had to follow her. You know, I wanted to find out what it was all about and if there was something that I could incorporate into my art practice that I could learn from her. So, you know, the class was incredible. It covered everything from value, we did color wheels, we did so much paint mixing, but in a real, she makes it so accessible and interesting. I will say it's one of the hardest classes that I've ever done. There were times with the homework each week that I really struggled in a good way. I mean, you want to be pushed. You don't want to just be like, oh, it's okay. Like, you know, she really pushed me to look at color in a different way, to understand atmospheric perspective, to think about hue and saturation, and to really use color to convey feeling and, you know, and depth in your work. So that's Amanda. If I think back on her experience, I feel like I could do her class again. I think you would get a lot out of it as a beginner, but I honestly feel like it's really a class for people who are a little farther along. you could just do it once a year and still get something out of it every year and have it push you in a new way. So I think, in terms of the sort of technical aspects, that class vaulted me into a new level. And I really recommend it. So even though listen, I'm not a reviewer. That's not my goal here. But I just have to talk about the classes that I loved. And this is one of them, for sure. And there are a lot of other artists and a lot of other classes that I can't talk about because I'm trying really hard to keep this video to less than 10 minutes. And I think I've already blown that away. But I just thought I'd try it. Okay, so those are my 3 top things to talk about. I mean, top in terms of some of my favorites. As I said, I'm not a reviewer. I am a lover, not a fighter. And I will probably, if this is an interesting video to you, first of all, comment down below on if this is helpful and if there's other classes you'd like me to talk about. I could certainly talk about the London Drawing Group. I have so many that I could talk about because over the last 8 years I have explored widely and there's just a lot to talk about. I also would love to know if there are art classes that you would recommend that I check out. Like, is there an art experience, whether it's an in-person workshop or an online experience, that changed your life and changed your art practice? And if that is the case, I would love to know about it for purely selfish reasons, because I would love to take that class too. So let me know, and we can just be art class lovers together, because I am an addict and I think it's a great way to connect with people, and I think it's changed my life. So this was a super fun video for me to make. It's like a walk down memory lane to some of my favorite experiences over the last few years. I hope there's something of value. Of course, please subscribe, please comment below, please like. It does help me to keep making these videos, to know that somebody's there. And if you made it to the end, God bless you. That's awesome, because I don't know many people who do. But listen, we're gonna get there. It's gonna happen. Oh, I'm turning into a YouTube person. I am. It's happening. Just you watch. All right. Thanks again. I'll see you next week. I hope you make something extraordinary. Thank you. Bye.